If you're thinking of searching Smile.jpg at 3 a.m., don't. I made that mistake and it nearly cost me my sanity. And maybe my life. I know how that sounds. Another internet cautionary tale. Another creepypasta you're supposed to laugh at, screenshot and share in a Discord server. That's what I thought too, until I learned that some stories don't stay locked inside the screen. Some stories bleed out. It was late. One of those nights where you've stayed awake too long, the rest of the world feels like it's asleep and the silence of your room presses down like a weight. My desk lamp was off, and the only light came from the glow of my laptop. It wasn't supposed to be anything more than just another rabbit hole. Clicking through old forums, reading half-baked conspiracy posts, urban legends, and internet myths. The kind of thing you do when you can't sleep and you want to spook yourself just enough to feel something. I had heard of Smile.jpg before, of course, everyone in the horror corners of the web has. The cursed image, the grinning dog with eyes that supposedly drive people insane. It was old-school creepypasta. Harmless, right? Something you'd see alongside stories about haunted game cartridges and Bloody Mary. But here's what no one tells you. The version floating around on Google Images, the one you've probably seen, isn't the real one. It's a diluted copy, a mask over something much worse. I didn't believe that either, until I went looking. Until I found out there are people who claim the original can only be found at a certain time, in certain places. A forbidden thread here, a broken link there, and if you're reckless enough to search for it at 3 a.m., you start to find things you weren't meant to. I never believed in creepypastas until this happened. But what I saw that night was different. It wasn't just a story. It wasn't just pixels. It was something alive, waiting, smiling back at me from inside the screen. That night was only the beginning. If you've spent any time on the darker corners of the internet, you've probably brushed up against the legend of Smile.jpg. It's practically folklore now. Our generation's version of ghost stories whispered around a campfire, except the firelight has been replaced by the blue glow of computer screens. The story goes like this. Smile.jpg isn't just a creepy picture of a dog, it's cursed. People claim that once you see the true version, the original image, it embeds itself in your mind like a parasite. Victims report hallucinations, nightmares, even physical illness. Some accounts go further, saying the dog isn't an image at all. It's a door, a presence, something that looks back at you when you look at it. When I first read those claims, I rolled my eyes. Honestly, I thought it was just vintage creepypasta nonsense. Back in the mid-2000s, everything was haunted. Games were haunted, chain emails were haunted. Even Cartoon Network had supposedly lost episodes that would drive you insane if you watched them. I had grown up on those stories. Sonic.exe, Ben Drowned, Polybius. They were fun, sure, but I never bought into them. Smile.jpg felt like more of the same, a relic from 4chan threads and horror wikis. But the strange thing about Smile.jpg was how persistent the legend was. Unlike other creepypastas that faded once the novelty wore off, Smile.jpg kept resurfacing. Threads would vanish, forums would lock discussions, and yet screenshots or whispered rumors would always pop up again somewhere else. And the descriptions were eerily consistent. A Siberian husky, they said, but wrong. Its fur slick with shadows, its grin stretching far too wide, human teeth glistening in the dark. Eyes that didn't just look at you, they saw through you. And behind it, a warped, reddish background, like someone had taken a photo in hell's waiting room. I remember joking about it with a friend of mine, Eli. He was deep into internet lore, the type of guy who bookmarked conspiracy forums like other people bookmarked recipes. We were on a call one night, and the topic came up. "Man, you know it's fake, right?" I said. "It's just an old Photoshop. Someone probably made it on Windows 95 with Microsoft Paint and bad teeth textures." Eli chuckled, but there was hesitation in his voice. "Sure, but then why do people still talk about it? Why do threads get deleted? Why do some people swear they can't sleep after seeing it?" "Because people love scaring themselves," I replied. "It's the same reason horror movies make money. It's adrenaline, nothing more." He lowered his voice. Then you wouldn't be scared to test it." I laughed, thinking he was just messing with me, but he didn't laugh back. "Look, the one you find on Google? That's nothing. That's like a knockoff mask. The real Smile.jpg is buried. The original is different. People say it only shows up under specific conditions. 3 in the morning, old links, forgotten boards. It's not something you stumble across. It's something that finds you." That line stuck with me more than I wanted to admit. Something that finds you. I mocked him at the time, of course. Told him if the worst thing on the internet was a dog with a creepy grin, then we were all doing just fine. But when the call ended, I couldn't shake it. The absurdity of it nagged at me like a loose tooth you can't stop poking with your tongue. They told me the real image wasn't the one you could Google. It was hidden, buried, and only shows up at 3 a.m. And maybe that's why, against my better judgment, I decided to try. That night started like any other one of my insomnia-fueled deep dives. My room was a disaster zone. Half-drunk cans of energy drink lined up like fallen soldiers across my desk. Laundry I promised I'd fold 3 days ago piled in the corner, and the faint smell of burnt coffee clinging to the air because I had reheated the same cup in the microwave twice. I was supposed to be working on something. An assignment, a presentation. I don't even remember anymore. But instead I let YouTube autoplay creepypasta narrations in the background while I scrolled through forums. Procrastination feels less like wasting time when you can convince yourself you're researching. At least that's the lie I told myself. The hum of my laptop fan was the only real sound in the room, apart from the occasional creak of the walls settling. Outside, the world was dead quiet. No cars, no voices, no life. Just the faint buzz of a streetlight leaking through my blinds. I could feel the weight of the clock behind me. 2:42 a.m. The numbers were glowing in red across my alarm clock like they were taunting me. I should have gone to bed, I knew it. But Eli's voice from earlier wouldn't leave my head. The real Smile.jpg only shows up at 3 a.m. It was childish, stupid even, but the kind of dare that crawls under your skin. So I typed it in. Smile.jpg original image. The results were what you'd expect. Memes, fake edits, blogs debunking the myth. Some distorted husky photos, some grainy reposts from Creepypasta wikis. A few image boards had threads on it, but they were either locked or filled with trolls posting bad Photoshop jobs. 2:57 a.m. I refreshed. Tried new keywords. Smile.jpg cursed. Smile.jpg 3 a.m. version. Real Smile Dog. Same nonsense. Part of me was relieved, honestly. The longer I searched without finding anything, the more I could laugh at myself for even trying. Maybe I'd even screenshot the attempt and send it to Eli just to prove what a waste of time it was. 2:59. That's when a different result appeared. It wasn't there before. An old, broken-looking link buried 3 pages deep into the search results. The text preview didn't make sense, just a string of random characters and half-broken HTML. Normally I'd ignore it. But at that moment, with the minutes dragging toward 3 hark, my curiosity outweighed my common sense. I clicked. The site loaded slower than it should have, like it was dragging itself into existence 1 pixel at a time. No banner, no navigation menu, no text at all, just a blank black screen with a single box in the center. Download.jpg. That was it. No description, no context, no file size. Just 1 button sitting there like bait on a hook. For a second I laughed. The whole setup looked so low effort, like something a middle schooler would throw together for a computer class project. And yet, my stomach tightened as I stared at that box. It wasn't just the timing, it was the silence, the way the cursor seemed too bright against the darkness of the page, the way the seconds ticked away on my clock. 3 a.m. I told myself I wouldn't actually do it, that I was just curious to see how far the rabbit hole went. My finger hovered over the trackpad, debating whether to click. I didn't have to. Before I could make a decision, the download started on its own. The file appeared at the bottom of my screen with a soft ping. The file was already downloading itself. The download finished faster than it should have. I hadn't even clicked on it, yet there it was in my files. Smile.jpg. My stomach tightened. I told myself it was just some troll's idea of a joke, probably a jump scare image or corrupted file. But before I could delete it, the file opened on its own. At first, it was just static. My speakers hissed like an untuned radio, and the screen flickered gray and black as though my laptop was trying to process something it wasn't meant to. Then, slowly, the static cleared, and there it was. The dog. Except dog doesn't even begin to describe what I saw. Its fur looked wet, matted, like it had just crawled out of a swamp. Its body was half in shadow, barely visible against a backdrop that looked like rotting wallpaper stained crimson. But it was the face that froze me. The mouth stretched impossibly wide, rows of human teeth gleaming like shards of porcelain under a filthy grin. And the eyes. God. The eyes. Too round, too knowing. They didn't just look at me. They reached. I couldn't breathe. My chest locked tight as a faint smell crept into the room. Burning plastic like the inside of my laptop was melting. I leaned closer, stupidly, like some part of me needed proof that what I was seeing was real. That was when the lights in my room flickered. The bulb above my desk buzzed violently, then went out completely, leaving only the glow of the laptop. The image seemed brighter than it should have been, casting shadows that stretched across my desk. I told myself I was imagining it, that it was just a picture, pixels on a screen. My rational brain kept repeating the mantra, "It's not real, it's not real, it's not real." But then the corners of its mouth twitched. I froze. My eyes watered from staring too long, but I couldn't blink. The dog's grin widened by a fraction of an inch, so slight that I almost doubted myself. Almost. My phone buzzed on the desk, startling me out of the trance. With shaking hands, I grabbed it and texted Eli. Me. "Dude, I think I found it. The real one." Eli. "Don't look at it directly." That was all he said. No laughing emojis, no sarcasm, just a stark warning. I looked back at the laptop. The dog's pupils had shifted ever so slightly, angled downward, like it knew I had looked away, like it was watching my every move. My ears rang, a faint, high-pitched frequency that made my head throb. Beneath it, under the static, I thought I heard whispers. Faint words too garbled to understand except for one. Smile. My throat went dry. I slammed the laptop shut, my pulse hammering in my ears. The room plunged into darkness, leaving only the faint glow of my alarm clock. 3:07 a.m. I sat there frozen, listening. Nothing, no whispers, no static, just the sound of my own ragged breathing. For a moment, I convinced myself it was over, that it was just a scary image paired with a cheap audio track, that maybe I was more sleep-deprived than I realized. I told myself I imagined the twitch, that my brain filled in the gaps the same way it does when you see faces in clouds or shadows in your closet. That's all it was. But then, out of the corner of my eye, I saw movement. The laptop was still closed, but the faint light of the screen bled through the crack in the casing. The image hadn't gone away. It was still there, grinning, eyes locked on me. I backed away from the desk until my legs hit the bed, and I sat down hard. My phone buzzed again, and I grabbed it like a lifeline. Eli. "You looked, didn't you?" Me. "I think so. I didn't mean to. It opened itself." Eli. "It always does. Whatever you do, don't keep it. Delete it before..." The message cut off mid-sentence. No follow-up. Just silence. I stared at the screen, waiting, but nothing else came through. My Wi-Fi icon flickered in and out like the connection was failing, even though I knew it wasn't. I wanted to delete the file. God, I wanted to. But when I reached for the laptop, I froze. My hand hovered just above the lid, and a wave of dread hit me so hard I felt sick. It wasn't fear of the file. It was fear of the thing inside it. Like deleting it would be a mistake. Like I was erasing a door that had already been opened. That wasn't the last time I saw it. In fact, it followed me. At first, I thought I could just shut my laptop and be done with it. Close the lid, walk away, bury myself in something else. That's how internet scares always worked for me before. Jump scare, eye roll, then Netflix until I passed out. But Smile.jpg didn't stay inside the computer. The next morning, my phone buzzed on the nightstand. I groaned, expecting emails or spam notifications. But when I glanced at the screen, it was just blank. No lock screen, no time, no date. Just black, like it had powered off. I pressed the button and suddenly the display flickered, showing the dog's grotesque grin for a fraction of a second before vanishing. My heart skipped. I swore I hadn't set that. I hadn't even downloaded anything to my phone. That day I told myself I imagined it. Sleep deprivation, nerves, maybe even leftover caffeine from the night before. I tried to sink into my routine. Coffee that tasted burnt, scrolling through emails, procrastinating on work like usual. For a few hours, life almost felt normal again. But that night, when I opened my laptop, one of my folders was different. A new file sat in downloads, named simply Smile.jpg. I didn't put it there. I hadn't saved it. The timestamp said it had been created while I was asleep. I didn't open it. I slammed the folder shut, deleted it instantly, and even ran a virus scan. Clean. My logical brain clung to that word like a lifeline. Clean. But when I closed the lid, I swore I heard something faint, like static whispering my name. Sleep offered no escape. In my dreams, I was back at that first night staring at the screen, only now the dog wasn't just smiling. Its jaw stretched wider, its teeth curling into impossible angles, its gums raw and dripping. The background, a dingy room I'd never been in before, shifted with each blink. I woke drenched in sweat, certain that if I'd stared a second longer, I wouldn't have woken at all. The following days blurred together. My phone began turning itself on in the dead of night, buzzing until I picked it up, only to reveal that same twisted grin as if mocking me. My laptop glitched, mouse cursor moving by itself, files appearing and vanishing like something else had control. Desperation pushed me back online. I scoured forums, deep threads buried in forgotten corners of the internet. Most were filled with trolls, laughing about the smile.dog curse and posting fake versions of the image. But one comment stuck out, buried under hundreds of jokes. It read, "Once you've seen it, it spreads. Deleting won't help. Ignoring won't save you. The only way out is to pass it on." I messaged the user. My fingers trembled as I typed. Me. You've seen it too? Is this real? Them. More real than you want it to be. Me. How do I stop it? Them. You don't. You spread it, or it consumes you. I sat staring at the screen, cold sweat sliding down my back. Was this some twisted roleplay, or had I stumbled onto something darker than I was ready for? Daylight still gave me some comfort, but nights became unbearable. Every reflective surface turned treacherous. I'd catch a glimpse of myself in the bathroom mirror only to see my face stretched into that same impossible grin for the briefest second. I'd blink, and it was gone. Yet the afterimage clung to me, burned into the backs of my eyelids. One evening, while making coffee, I dropped my mug because I swore the dog's reflection was leering up from the dark liquid, teeth gleaming, eyes glowing like embers. The ceramic shattered, hot coffee soaking the floor, but even then I couldn't shake the image. I stopped sleeping properly. When I did doze off, the dog prowled through my dreams, sitting in the corner of strange rooms just watching, always smiling. Sometimes I'd hear it whispering in a voice like a broken radio. Pass it on. The breaking point came 3 nights later. I woke around 3:07 a.m. to the sound of my phone buzzing violently on the nightstand. I grabbed it, expecting spam, but froze. My lock screen had changed. No notifications, no wallpaper, just the Smile.jpg staring back at me, eyes boring straight through the glass, that horrific grin stretching wider, wider, as if it knew I was watching. I hadn't said it. I hadn't touched it. And yet, there it was. my phone grinning at me in the dark. That was when I realized this wasn't just on my devices anymore. It had already found a way inside my life, and it wasn't going to leave. I used to think I could draw the line between what was real and what was just my imagination. You know that stubborn little voice in your head that says, "Relax, it's just a story, just a picture, just your nerves playing tricks on you." That voice had carried me through horror movies, creepypasta binges, even a few late-night panic attacks. But after Smile.jpg, that voice grew weaker, fainter, until it was almost gone. The first time I noticed reality slipping was with my dog, Milo. He's always been calm, lazy even. A rescue mutt who sleeps through storms and barely lifts his head for the mailman. But that night, around 2:45 a.m., he bolted upright on the bed and began snarling at the corner of the room. Not barking, snarling, teeth bared, every hair along his back raised like a bristling wire brush. I whispered, "Milo, what is it?" My voice shook. He didn't look at me. He just kept his eyes locked on the corner, lips curling, saliva dripping onto the sheets. I followed his gaze, but there was nothing there, just shadows. And then, only for a heartbeat, I saw it. A pale shape crouched in the corner, jaws split wide in that grotesque grin. Its eyes glowed faintly, reflecting the dim light of my laptop screen like a predator's. I blinked, and it was gone. Milo whimpered and backed away, as if he could still sense it even after it vanished. That was the moment I stopped trusting my own senses. It got worse outside my apartment. I walked downtown the next day, desperate to distract myself. But everywhere I looked, Smile followed. A massive billboard for a soda brand glitched mid-animation. The happy family replaced for a fraction of a second with that cursed dog's head. A coffee shop TV froze during a news broadcast, and behind the anchor's shoulder, the same grin flickered in the static. Even laptops in the library seemed to betray their owners, browsers crashing, replaced by a flash of sharp teeth and glowing eyes before resuming as if nothing had happened. No one else seemed to notice. People scrolled on their phones, laughed with friends, carried on with their lives as if the infection wasn't worming its way through every screen around us. That isolation, knowing I was the only one seeing it, was worse than the images themselves. And now, I need to warn you. Yes, you. The one listening to my voice thinking you're safe because it's just a story. I thought the same. But Smile.jpg doesn't stay locked in files. It spreads through memory, through attention, through belief. Even hearing about it might plant the seed. That's how it got me. That's how it gets everyone eventually. By then, I was breaking. I considered smashing every device I owned. I unplugged my laptop, wrapped my phone in aluminum foil like some desperate conspiracy theorist, even thought about burning it all in the sink. But deep down, I knew it wouldn't help. The infection wasn't digital anymore. It was in me. Still, I needed to talk to someone, anyone who might believe me. So I texted my friend Jonah. He was the one who always mocked creepypastas, called me gullible, but at least he'd respond. Me. "Hey, you ever hear about Smile.jpg? Jonah. LOL, yeah, that old chain email thing. Classic internet trash. Me. I think it's real. I think it's spreading. Jonah. Dude, are you serious? It's fake. Don't tell me you actually looked it up. Me. I saw it. Jonah. Delete it. Forget it. Seriously. Stop thinking about it. There was a pause. 3 little typing dots appeared, then vanished. Minutes passed. I stared at my phone, waiting. Finally, one last message came through. Jonah, wait. Where did you find it? Did you see the real one? My chest tightened. The real one. That phrase had been haunting me since the beginning. Whispers in forums that the one on Google was a decoy, a weaker version. I asked him what he meant. No reply. I called. Straight to voicemail. I drove to his apartment the next day. His car was in the lot, his bike chained to the railing, but no one answered the door. I knocked until my knuckles bled, shouted his name down the hallway. Nothing. Jonah was gone. Just gone. Neighbors said they hadn't seen him since yesterday. His landlord said the rent hadn't been paid in weeks, as if he'd already disappeared before I spoke to him. But I had spoken to him. I had the messages to prove it. Except when I opened my phone, they weren't there anymore. Just blank chat history, as if the conversation had never happened. That was the breaking point. That was when I stopped telling myself it was just hallucination. Because hallucinations don't erase people. I thought I was cursed. I thought Smile.jpg had singled me out, like some cruel cosmic punishment. But then, while tearing through old forum threads, hunting for anything that could explain what I was living, I stumbled on a phrase that made my blood run cold. The infection didn't start online. The image is just the carrier. The truth about Smile.jpg is older, much older. And in that moment, I realized I wasn't just cursed, I was part of something far bigger. When Jonah vanished, I thought maybe I had finally lost it, that all of this was just paranoia spiraling out of control. But then I dug deeper, and that's when I found the thread. It wasn't on Reddit or 4chan or even one of those dead Creepypasta wikis that people abandoned years ago. No, this was buried deeper, hidden behind a string of onion links I stumbled across in an archived post. The kind of thing that looked like nonsense, random characters and slashes until curiosity forces you to copy, paste, and click. The page loaded slow like it was resisting me. Black background, white text, no logos, no ads, just a thread titled Smile.jpg Confessions. I scrolled, hundreds of posts. At first I laughed. People were writing like it was a religion. The smile wants attention. The smile grows when we fear it. The smile watches. It read like bad fan fiction crossed with a cult manifesto. One post stuck with me. It isn't just an image, it's a door. Every time someone sees it, the door opens wider. The dog isn't smiling at you, it's smiling because it's already inside. That was when my stomach dropped. The deeper I went, the less funny it seemed. People confessed to nightmares, paranoia, hallucinations, stories too close to mine to dismiss. One said their sister slit her wrists after weeks of seeing the grin in every mirror. Another described a coworker who laughed until his jaw locked, until he suffocated on his own tongue. And then there were the ones who claimed it wasn't death that came, it was worship. I wanted to scoff, to tell myself these were just role players cosplaying internet martyrs. But the details, they were too specific, too raw. One user uploaded what looked like patch notes. Literally, Smile XEV 3.1, stability improvements, wider smile, fewer survivors. I actually laughed at that, out loud. Because come on, that had to be satire, right? The absurdity of treating a cursed dog image like a software update. I typed a snarky reply, fingers shaking. Cool story, bro. When's the Smile 4.0 beta drop? Almost instantly someone responded. Username hidden, just anonymous. Anonymous. You shouldn't mock it. It doesn't like being mocked. Me. It's a JPEG, not a god. Anonymous. That's what we all said. Before. Me. Before what? Anonymous. Before it asked us to spread it. Before we realized sharing it is the only way to survive. I froze. My cursor hovered. Share it to survive. The idea lodged itself in my skull like a splinter. It sounded ridiculous, and yet it explained so much. Why the image never truly disappeared. Why every generation of internet users rediscovered it. Why forums from the early 2000s already had panicked posts begging others not to open their inbox. Smile.jpg was viral by design, not just in code, but in hunger. The cultists weren't fans. They were survivors. And suddenly, I wasn't laughing anymore. Scrolling further, I found a link. Proof. Against my better judgment, I clicked. A spreadsheet opened, old, grainy, clearly passed through a dozen hands. It listed names, dates, causes of death. Notes. 1999, Linda M. suicide. Left note saying, the dog smiles still. 2003, Ryan P. car accident. Witnesses reported he was laughing uncontrollably before the crash. 2007, unknown disappearance, last post online. It wants me to show you. 2011, Sarah K., institutionalized, drew the same dog's face across 327 notebook pages. 2019, Jonah F., missing, phone wiped, no records of messages. My blood turned to ice. Jonah's name was there, as if the spreadsheet had been waiting for me. I wanted to slam the laptop shut, to pretend I hadn't seen it, but I couldn't stop scrolling. Row after row, victim after victim, hundreds of them, and with every new entry the same word appeared in the final column: infected. That was when I realized Smile.jpg wasn't just a cursed image, or even a haunting. It was a contagion, a digital plague, older than the internet itself, using our screens, our curiosity, our disbelief to keep spreading. And I wasn't reading about victims. I was reading a preview of my own future. I stopped sleeping. Not by choice, but because every time I closed my eyes, the dog was waiting. At first it was just dreams. Ordinary, warped things your brain cooks up when you've had too much caffeine and too much internet. But then the pattern emerged. Always the same place. An endless white void, stretching out in every direction. Featureless, silent. Except for the sound of claws clicking on a floor I couldn't see. And then it came. The dog. Sometimes far away, sometimes close enough to smell its hot, rotting breath. Always smiling. Always watching. Each night it came closer. Each night I woke up sweating, gasping, clawing at my sheets like they were chains dragging me under. My days blurred into half-conscious delirium. I started keeping a journal. Fragmented notes scrawled between panic attacks. Flipping back now, I can barely read my own handwriting. Pages of nonsense. Smile, it sees through glass. Don't mock it. Teeth, teeth, teeth. Sometimes whole sentences crossed out so hard the paper tore. I thought maybe if I documented it, I could prove something. Or maybe I just wanted a record. So when someone eventually found my body, they'd know it wasn't drugs or insanity. It was Smile. But somewhere between the scribbles, I discovered something worse than the image itself. Because the more I wrote, the more I realized the image wasn't just appearing in my dreams. It was rewriting them. The void wasn't mine. It was its. I wasn't dreaming at all. I was being shown a place that already existed, and each time I returned, the dog was guiding me deeper. Do you understand what that means? It isn't just a cursed picture. It's a doorway, a lure, a leash dragging us toward whatever it is. And here's the sick punchline. I catch myself laughing sometimes. Real hysterical laughter, tears streaming down my face because this is how I go out. Not cancer, not a car accident, not old age, not even some cinematic monster attack. No, I'm dying because of a meme. Because I clicked the wrong thing at 3 a.m. like an idiot. Maybe that's why it smiles. Because it knows how ridiculous this all is and how powerless we are against it. If you've made it this far into my story, maybe you're wondering why I'm even telling you this. Why risk spreading it? Why risk dragging you down too? The truth is, I don't know anymore. Part of me hopes that if I talk about it, if I share just enough, I'll keep it satisfied. That's what the cultists said, right? Share to survive. Another part of me just wants someone else to understand before I disappear like Jonah. And maybe the last part of me, maybe the darkest part, wants you infected too. So I won't be alone. Sorry. That was too honest, wasn't it? Still, you're here. Still listening. That means some part of you wants to know, wants to peer over the edge and see what's waiting. So let me give you one last warning. Not as some faceless narrator, not as a username on a forum, but as a real human being who has already lost too much. If this video disappears suddenly, if my account goes dark and my voice cuts off mid-sentence, you'll know why. Because it found me. Because it decided you've heard enough. I keep hearing that laugh now, the one in my dreams. Low, guttural, but growing closer every night. Sometimes I think I hear it when I'm awake too, behind me when I'm brushing my teeth, outside my apartment door when I'm pretending to sleep, in the static of my headphones when I try to drown it out with music. It's always there. And just when I thought it couldn't get any worse, just when I thought I'd already seen the full extent of this thing, my inbox pinged. I don't remember signing into my email. I don't remember leaving the laptop on, but the notification was there. One new message. No sender, no attachments, just a subject line. Smile.jpg wants you. It's late again, too late. The kind of hour where the world outside feels abandoned, where the silence weighs heavy, broken only by the faint hum of my laptop. The screen glows in the dark, just like it did the night all of this began. I should have learned my lesson. I should have smashed the computer, cut the power, walked away, but it wouldn't have mattered. Because the truth is there's no escape. Not from Smile. The dog doesn't live in my laptop, or my phone, or the images buried in obscure folders. It lives in me now, burned into my eyes, etched into the backs of my eyelids. I see it when I blink, when I try to sleep, even when I stare into nothing. That grin has become the wallpaper of my mind. And the worst part? I'm starting to understand why it smiles. There's something almost satisfied in its expression, like it knows I fought, I resisted, but in the end, I still gave it what it wanted. My attention, my fear, my surrender. People always said Smile.jpg drives you insane. But that's not true. Insanity would almost be a mercy. What it really does is linger. It stays. You can still function, still eat, still walk through your daily life, but everything is infected. Every shadow feels like teeth. Every laugh sounds wrong. Every reflection carries eyes that don't belong to you. And if you're wondering whether I'm exaggerating, whether maybe I'm just another creepypasta narrator hamming it up for effect, let me cut through the performance for a moment. This isn't a joke. This isn't a story you can pause, click away from, and forget. If you've pictured the dog while listening to me, if you've wondered what it looks like in its true form, if even for a second you let the image into your head, it's already too late. That's how it starts. That's how it spreads. I warned you not to look, not to listen. But curiosity wins, doesn't it? Curiosity always wins. And Smile feeds on that. On the ones who can't help themselves, the ones who lean in a little closer even when they know they shouldn't. So I'll leave you with this. The same words that have been echoing in my skull since the night I saw it. You've looked long enough. And now, you're part of it. If you liked this story, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your impressions of this story in the comments. To listen to the next story, click on the box on the left. Thanks for watching.